Hey, I got a little pre-show chatter for you.
Ooh, what do you got?
So this does not have to be a review, but I want to chat for a second about The Parent Trap from 1998.
Oh yeah.
So I saw this recently. We played it at my theater, and I hadn't seen this in near like, I don't know, 20 years, longer than that, 25, 30 years, 25 years.
That long?
I don't know. It's been forever, dude. I don't think I saw this post 5th grade. I don't know.
I watched that movie like a year ago.
Did you really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I saw it a ton of times because it's like they played it all the time on, Disney Channel or whatever when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So, but if you had asked me a few weeks ago, like, what do you remember about it? I'd be like, and a few things would have come into my mind. But like, as I was watching it, like so many things were like flooding back to me. And I was like, oh, I remember everything about this movie. And so, again, this is not a review. I just want to talk about this for a second because this film was released in 1998, directed and written by Nancy Meyers, and obviously starring Lindsay Lohan, Dennis Quaid, Natasha Richardson, Elaine Hendricks, Lisa Ann Walter. Yeah, dude, it's a totally solid movie. I don't like, it doesn't make any logical sense that parents splitting up would do this to their children, or to themselves.
Not. No,
it makes no sense. And then,
it's horribly traumatic from that point of view.
Horribly traumatic, and like
awful decision.
Even for Dennis Quaid's character, Nick Parker, has like this, live-in maid kind of thing played by Lisa Ann Walter named Chessie. And like Chessie knows what happened and keeps it a secret from Lindsay Lohan.
Uh-huh.
And then Natasha Richardson has a butler, and dude knows, and he kept it a secret too. And I'm like, y'all are all keeping a lot of secrets from these girls for no good reason.
No reason at all.
They don't know who their other parent is. They don't know that they are a twin.
Yeah. So as far as they know, they're an only child, and they're clearly like both having trouble with being lonely.
Yes.
And it's like, imagine if you had a twin out there, like not only a sibling, but a twin.
But imagine as a parent, like you know your child has a sibling out there and you see them struggling and you're just like, I'm not going to say nothing.
Yeah. I'm going to let this play out.
You mean you can't be in the room with your ex long enough for your kids to...
I know.
And that doesn't make any sense to me.
And then when they do meet up later in the movie, it's like, your relationship seems fine, perfectly amicable. Like, you could have absolutely co-parented these kids.
It's perfectly amicable. They clearly still have feelings for each other. And then Nancy Meyers has to go the extra mile, and like, she can't villainize either of the parents, right? You can't say, well, we broke up because one of you cheated or one of you was abusive, or like, you can't go that far. So what do? They go with this like, well, we had an argument and I left and you didn't come after me, so I never came back.
Right.
And I'm like, and so when did you draw up the papers that decided the custody of the kids? When you left, did you take a kid with you, or did he later
Did you know which one you were taking? Did you mean to take the other one? That's a whole beep story. I thought, you're not even the kid I wanted.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about, Dad? I'm the only kid. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Oh, I miss my wife.
Who? You were married? You've told me nothing about you. I don't even know your name. I just call you Dennis Quaid.
How can we afford a maid, Dad? How much wine do you sell?
Evidently a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
Wine empire.
They're both super successful. Like,
yes,
incredibly successful
in like very idyllic jobs. I'm a wine farmer, and she's like a
wedding
designer?
Dress designer. Yeah. Fashion designer.
Come on, in London, like she has like this big apartment. Oh, butler.
So much so that like Dennis Quaid's new, potential wife is like obsessed with her dresses, and it's like, oh, you're really well known. You're a celebrity. Like
internationally known. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like a bespoke, like successful bespoke in London thing. It's like you have a global presence pre-social media.
So let's say
work.
that Lindsay Lohan, Lindsay's character, I forget which is which twin she plays when, but like, let's say that her character, who is Dennis Quaid's daughter, grows up and eventually gets married and picks a dress made by her mother. Is the dad then going to say, "Oh, by the way, your mom designed that," or is he going to go to his grave not telling her anything?
I think he was prepared to. I think he was
these
prepared
are all
to take
questions
it.
I have.
Because I don't remember. Questions. I never saw the original Parent Trap, but I imagine the plot is even flimsier,
probably
for that. And so Nancy Meyers was probably like, "God, how do we talk about divorce in like a modern context?
Yeah,
without putting faults. Like, how do you explain that? It, like you're just saying, it's like it's kind of a snake chasing its own tail. Like." The parents are both good people, but this is an incredibly poor decision they made for their children.
But by default, there's a little bit of error that these parents are making, not just because the whole scheme is illogical and all of those things, but like these parents are effectively neglecting one of their children.
Yeah.
And we're just supposed to be okay with that because they're really good to the other one. The whole thing feels weird.
It stinks.
Now, having said that, this is a really good movie. I don't know how it manages to also be this good, but here's my theory on this. These characters are so good. The plot could have been just about anything.
Yeah.
Like, sure, Lindsay Lohan's characters, like, they don't have a ton of like individual personality. I mean, maybe a little bit. One's got an accent and one has a different accent. Like, okay, that's not a character trait, but sure. But they're effectively the same character. Yeah. But like Dennis Quaid, Natasha Richardson, they both, their characters are both very fully realized, but like the standouts here are both of the, like the butler and the nanny, Lisa Ann Walter and Simon Coons. They are fantastic in those roles. And like the second they arrive, they're fully fleshed out characters. You feel like you understand them in a single scene. It's super economical and effective. And then when Meredith Blake shows up, played by Elaine Hendricks, who is Dennis Quaid's new fiance, it is a ridiculously economical way to explain this person is not cool, is a little bit like manipulative. She's
manipulative, materialistic. Yeah, she's clearly after his money. Thing. Yeah.
Yep. In one scene, like you get it all immediately. And I think that's the fun of the movie is like the plot's bonkers. The logic of it is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
The idea that like, how did somebody who lives in London end up at American summer camp anyway? Like, that's never explained. And why presumably like the summer camp is close enough to both of the home. Like,
yeah. Right. I mean, like she never thought like, oh, that's within a couple hours drive of my ex-husband's house, who I've sworn to my death that you will never meet or know about.
But it's also weird because now that I think about it, he picks her up at the airport, which means she flew to the camp, which means the camp could have been states away.
The camp might have been in like upstate New York or something, and they just flew them both.
It could have been in the heart of Texas. We don't know.
Yeah.
And like, wherever, like whatever that situation is, how could this possibly be that they end up at the same summer camp the same year?
Yeah.
It is impossible.
There are a lot of leaps the movie does ask you to make.
And there's not like this is like a really famous camp or it's a really specialized camp that both kids are
globally recognized with no social media presence.
Right. Yes.
Right.
But if it was like a specialty, like it's a STEM camp, it's the best in the world, and it's like both of these daughters are, into mathematics or whatever. Yeah. It's like, oh, got it. Cool.
Yeah.
that makes some sense, but this is just a general, like, archery and arts and crafts summer camp.
Right.
And both of these girls just happened to go there the same week of the same summer.
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense, but okay, fine, whatever. We're talking about logistics, right? But like none of it makes any sense. But I forget where I was going with that. But the point is, like, it's all illogical and none of it makes sense.
Yeah.
But the characters are so good that you're willing to go along with it. And Lindsay Lohan is, I don't know how old she is here. She's young.
Yeah.
And
probably like 12 or 13.
Yeah, I mean, so let's see. What do we say? It's 98, and she was born in
86, maybe.
Yeah, 86. Okay. So, but like,
so 12, 13. Yeah.
So, 11. But here's the thing. So, if she is that good, that young, that's super. Like, we're talking like Macaulay Culkin levels of like.
Yes.
Charisma and talent,
timing,
and being a leading character in a comedy, in like a family comedy.
Well, and playing dual roles, that's hard.
That's hard for people, the character of it.
Yeah.
But also the tech of it.
Maintaining the performances, but also like, tech wise, like this would be easier today because you could do body, like face replacements. You could act to another person there.
Yeah.
But this was before that. So you literally just had to act to nothing. You're doing split screen. You're doing robotic, pre-programmed robotic cameras to mimic the camera moves, shadow blending and all that stuff. But for the performance, you're just acting you're doing the tennis ball thing.
Well, so the first time through, somebody's off camera reading to her. And then the second time through, she has an earpiece that's feeding her own lines back to her,
right?
Which is fine, except that means that the director has to already know what take she's using. Nancy Meyers, the juggle that this film must have been technically is ridiculous. And my hat's off to her because she had to keep straight which character is Lindsay playing, how to direct a young girl to play that character at this time, then immediately look at the dailies, figure out which take is the best one. Then the audio guys got to get that loaded up. And in Lindsay's
resign
earpiece.
yourself to having to heavily edit every scene because you don't know what take, and therefore you have to leave the timing up to post. But who wants to do that?
Right. It's way more natural if you're doing it the other way. If you can just if you can just tell Lindsay, this is it. Yep. Because the other thing is like the audio engineer is also adding in beeps. So Lindsay performance 1 is saying like, that means we're, and the other girl comes in and goes, twins. Right. So so the second performance, she's hearing we're, and she's also hearing beep, 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 beep. Now you speak, right? So there's that added into it. So there's like so much, and you wouldn't do that for every take you did with an 11-year-old because that's going to be a million takes. I'm presuming.
Yeah.
So
imagine the highlighters on that script of like scenes that are heavily technical and scenes that are lightly technical.
Yeah.
And deciding like what order to shoot them in, and that affects the rest of the shoot, and doing a performance all the way through for one character and then the other, that almost inherently makes the second performance better.
Yes.
Because you are responding to something and you can you've already shaped it in a way, or like part of it's already permanent. So you can tailor it, and you're further into the shoot. So you're more settled into your character. And so I almost wonder if it's like, okay, which character is the more boring one? Let's do that one first. Cause that performance is going to be a little more flat.
Yep.
We're working with kids after all.
Unless you did it 3 times and did performance to performance, performance to performance to performance, so that you know what I mean.
Gets better,
Each time it gets better, but like each time, like the first time she does it, okay, we pick the best take for performance 2 to act 2. Then we pick the best of performance 2 for performance 1.
Golly.
The encore of performance 1 to act to the good part of
the
that.
audio guys like, wait, we're doing this again?
Yeah, hold on. Which take? 1A or 7C?
Yeah.
You know, like,
she's like, oh, I'm sorry, you don't want to go out to Napa again for a week and shoot? Oh, no, I didn't say that. No.
No, that's fine. So you personally want to put this film over budget? Is that what you're saying to me? No. Yeah, but like, so super like big, you know, hats off to Lindsay Lohan because she really carried the movie and did a really great job. But all of these actors,
reason that she was famous. Like there is a reason.
Totally.
Like she's a gifted performer.
100%. And like tons of natural talent. I don't know what kind of training she went on to have, but like, does she need it? Like, she's so good. So yeah, I really enjoyed rewatching this movie for the nostalgia, but also like, you know, if you can get past the big leaps of logic the film takes, it's a really good movie and it's really well performed. And we've said it before and we'll say it again. These are the types of movies that Disney should be making. And for some reason, they are not making these types of movies anymore. And that sucks because this is a really good movie that I think stands the test of time. And even though it is a product of its time, I think kids today can still enjoy it because there's a lot said that I think kids would still latch onto, even if they're like, why don't they just call home with their cell phone? And it's like, well, because, you know, I got to explain this to you, but like, apart from all of that, it's a really good movie. And I think kids would really enjoy it still. Yeah. This isn't like a review. I just wanted to say, like, I was really impressed by this movie, watching it for the first time since I was probably also 10 or 11. Yeah. And yeah, I had a good time with it.
Yeah. Like I said, I watched it like a year ago with my kids, you know, cause it's on Disney Plus. And like, I was sitting here like, it's a pretty good movie. Like there's not really a lot of, it's doing a lot of things right, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
Yeah.
I did some research and found that evidently Nancy Meyers tweeted or whatever. I don't know if it's on Instagram. Who knows what it was. Anyway, made a social media post and had said she has seen a 4K restoration of the film. Whether that will ever see the light of day, I don't know.
Tasty.
But the Parent Trap was available on Blu-ray as part of the Disney Movie Club. It was an exclusive there. Ooh. So if you didn't get it before that program, you know, closed its doors, it is now out of print and you cannot find this film. So that sucks. It's, you know, the death of a lot of good movies will be, you know, the death of physical media. But all that said, I would love to see this remastered in 4K. You know, it's not like the most culturally important movie ever made, but it is a really good looking movie. Yeah. And I also did look up the cinematographer because I thought it was a really good movie. There's a moment specifically where the two parents are like in the wine cellar and there's it's a really beautifully lit scene. Yes. It's romantic and all of that, but it's also it just feels real and dramatic and like classic Hollywood somehow. Yeah. But the cinematographer's name is Dean Cundey and
I've heard that name
and he's great. So hats off to Dean Cundey. Dean Cundey did Apollo 13, Jurassic Park, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Hook, worked a lot with Steven Spielberg. Yeah. He's been around the block. So he also did Jack and Jill.
Not all blocks are good or fun.
He was also the DP on Back to the Future. So go figure.
He was?
But yeah. First thing of note to me, DP on Halloween.
Oh, wow.
Rock and Roll High School, The Fog, Escape from New York, Halloween 2, The Thing.
That's where I've
Psycho
heard it.
2,
it was The
Romancing
Thing.
the Stone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the Future, Big Trouble in Little China.
Wow.
Project X, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Roadhouse, Back to the Future 2 and 3, Hook, Death Becomes Her, Jurassic Park, The Flintstones, Apollo 13, Casper, Flubber, The Parent Trap. This guy's had quite the career.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Raise a glass of California Red to The Parent Trap.
If you've already seen it, but when you were a kid, check it out again.
Yeah.
If you've never seen it,
sure,
it's worth seeing. It's worth seeing, but you've gone this long,
right?
but if you've seen it when you were a child and you haven't seen it since, see it. It's good.
Okay. Well, it's funny you should now imagine if those two little girls, if those two siblings ended up grotesquely merging into one person. And you've got a film together, the Parent Trap 2, Together at Last.
Together at
forever.
Together forever. They're actually
it's 4 of them. It's Lindsay Lohan, and their parents.
Not quintuplets. What's 4?
Quadruplets.
Apologies to all the quadruplets out there.
I don't know.
It's quadruplets, right?
Yes. Triplets, quadruplets.
Yeah.
Quintuplets.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Parent Trap 2.
Yeah.
Together forever. There's 2 more daughters and 2 more parents. Each of the parents is a twin. That's it. We've cracked it. Each of the parents is a secret twin.
The sequel, the legacy sequel.
Everyone's playing a dual role. Dennis Quaid's playing a British Dennis Quaid too.
Oh, the butler has a butler brother?
The butler has a butler brother who's the butler for the maid's butler. for the maid's twin sister maid.
Oh man, I'd watch that movie. Absolutely.
That sounds bonkers, dude.
I want to see a whole movie where there's like 3 Dennis Quaids yelling at each other about who's the worst father.
It's the worst British accent you've ever heard.
Oh, mate.
You're the worst British father that I've ever seen in my life.
You make wine, I'll make gin. And the third one's like an impossibly specific one, like South African. I can't even do it.
I'm the captain now.
I am the captain now. Where is the diamond? Do you see a diamond? All right, together, everybody. This is the Together episode. Okay, great. Yeah, this one's still out in theaters, so I don't have much else to say about it. So please enjoy Together.
What's going on?
I don't know. Since the move, Tim and I haven't been on the same page.
Please, do you love each other?
Maybe we're just complacent.
Imagine I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right.
Well, you know, complacency can sometimes simply be
So happy together.
harmony. You know, this could be the beginning
When you roll over, then you're on my hair.
of something wonderful.
Tim.
We spend our lives in search of the other half. If you think you found that, don't be so quick to let it go.
I think something's happening to us.
Listen to me. We've got to get out of here. Now. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
Billy, wake up!
You'll be okay.
Whiskey for the pain.
Together is a new film written and directed by Michael Shanks, produced by and starring Dave Franco and Allison Brie. David Harriman is in this, and I only mention that because I love that dude on Justified. He also played a really great, actually two really great Charles Mansons, which is interesting. So this is a horror movie, body horror. And if you've seen the trailer, then you know that it's about a couple. They move from the city into the countryside, and at a tenuous point in their relationship, and something happens, and they start to find themselves literally like drawn to each other, and stuff happens.
Yeah,
as I say.
There you go.
So, this movie's been out for a while. I saw it only a couple weeks after it came out. I think this film has some interesting elements. I think the actual body horror elements of it work really well. Whenever things start blending together, that's done really well. The effects and the prosthetics or whatever, that's all really well done. And I think the ideas expressed in this movie are fresh and entertaining. It's a movie about codependency. The whole allegory is about being so engrossed in your partner that your individuality is erased, basically. And that's a really interesting, I can't think of another horror movie that does something about that subject. Horror being an allegory for an actual complex human dynamic. I think that this goes in there as something that's like, if I were to show movies to classes about psychology, which you could totally do, that should be a class, like horror, like psychology via horror films. I think that this would go in that pantheon. I think you go down the files and you're like codependency. Oh, together. Great. We'll watch together. It's a good movie about that subject.
Sure.
But I think this movie's tone is all over the place. But not in a way that worked. Because one minute it's very dramatic, and then it's rather serious, and then it's horror again, and then it's horror with kind of what I think is misplaced comedy. Then it's melodrama, and then it's kind of schlock, and then it's like the ending to me is unintentionally funny. I don't feel like it's. I'll get to why I feel like it's unintentionally funny. Okay. What it does do is deliver on its premise, and I appreciate that. A lot of horror movies have this looming threat of something happening and it never happens, or they stop it, or something else happens.
Right.
And it's a lot more fun to watch movies where, there is no escape. The thing is happening. And so it's about it. Like the Babadook. We always come back to the Babadook.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for the Babadook. They don't kill the Babadook. You can't kill the Babadook. So why would you think these people can do it? So when you see supernatural horror films, I kind of like seeing the supernatural element win out, just because, one, if the supernatural existed, if the supernatural is to exist, I have a hard time believing that two normal ass people can figure out their way to beat it.
Can defeat it, sure.
Like a weekend, Yeah,
right.
So yeah. So it delivers on its premise without trying to give away what actually happens. If you go online, I'm clearly in the minority of people on the tone. Many people found those parts of the movie funny, and they seem to have a different read on this than me. So maybe I took the film too seriously, but at the same time, I think a better director would have expressed the tone more clearly. Maybe if handled by another director, those beats could have been, I don't know. I just felt like with music and shot design and, even some of the performances, it's like, this is funny, but not like, oh, good job. It's like, oh, you fucked something up, you know?
Yeah.
One of these guys on Reddit, so a lot of the stuff comes from Reddit. So, you know,
Sure.
One of these guys said, how anyone can walk out of this not knowing they watched a comedy is beyond me. Well, asshole, the film is referred to as a supernatural body horror film, not a fucking comedy, idiot. This woman named Amy Nicholson, or Annie, or I typoed her name, so it's Nicholson, for the LA Times, she wrote in a positive review, nothing about Together screams comedy, yet that's precisely how it's put together. I'm not sure what that, I think the film doesn't.
About structure?
I don't know. I don't think the film achieves that.
Okay.
I think the laughs this film elicits are at it and not with it, at least for me.
Sure.
So would I advise people see this? I think I saw Sunday matinee. So I think probably go to a matinee, especially if by the time you're listening to this, like it's still playing near you. I mean, it's not like you should skip it. I think it's worth seeing it, just, if nothing else, just for the spectacle.
Sure.
You know, like I said, like it's not like another slasher movie, or it's not another demon movie. Like it's a unique premise. So
sure.
Unique that the fucking director is getting sued for plagiarizing it, and had to put out a whole statement about like a timeline of when he submitted the script, which apparently was before that guy even submitted his story to him. So I think they're in the clear with that. But the director like wrote this about like his relationship. And like he kept having to like go to his wife and be like, hey, the other day when we were fighting and you called me a fucking idiot, what'd you say after that? And like, you know, tried to make like a relationship movie about something within this genre, which is what art is. I have something to say or something that I want people to think about. And the way I'm going to express it is through art. And through film, you pick a genre, and that genre in this case is horror, because codependency is kind of scary if you really think about what it is.
If you carry it to its extreme. Yeah,
exactly. And so I think the film does that really well. I'm honestly speaking more positive about it than I think I thought I would have when we started recording. But I mean, I do think it's worth seeing. I just think, you know, I don't think it's like mind blowing or anything. You'll watch it and go, okay,
yeah,
cool. Like I wasn't disappointed. Like there's nothing about you won't go into the movie, I don't think, expecting something that you're not going to get, unless you are me and you expected it to be a horror movie without strange comedy beats. And
well, yeah, I mean, you asked me to read the synopsis because I don't care about spoilers for this. And I read it, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah. And so in that way, it's like, it's not a movie you watch and go, I want this to like, oh, where's this going? It's like, you know where it's going. You may not know what happens on the way to it, but you know what's going to happen. And
yeah, totally.
And it's fine. And it's satisfying in that way. There's no like surprises where you go like, oh, that's weird. Why would you do that? Like, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
I want to talk about spoilers because a lot of the stuff I'm about to read is going to spoil the film. So that's my review for people. Yeah, it's a light recommendation. I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's a piece of shit or a waste of time. I mean, I'm going to go into this myriad of things that's all this discussion around this film that I think is interesting. And so in that way, it's a success. You know, we're talking about it. So there's something worth talking about because I think the premise is strong enough. And Alison Brie and Dave Franco are great on screen. I think most people are correctly pointing out that Dave Franco is kind of grating when he's giving performances. And I think it's because he's apparently he's given subtle performances in other dramatic roles in other films. But in this one, it's a lot more of like, this would be if you dropped an alien down into this movie and you were like, this is Dave Franco. This is the first thing you've seen him in. What kind of movies do you think he normally does? They'd be like, comedy?
Yeah.
Because, or they'd be like, the subtitle would be like,
subtitle would say comedy.
Yeah. Comedy, perhaps broad comedy.
Right.
And you'd be right because he looks like he's overacting a lot when things get extreme. It's kind of, it gets into this whole discussion of, well, was comedy the point? It's like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
considering how the rest of the movie goes. Like, I've seen horror comedies. I've seen Cabin in the Woods. That's a horror comedy. There's serious elements, but almost every scene reminds you, like, it's kind of silly, right? You know, and we're playing on some tropes. And this movie isn't self-referential like that. It just has jokes where I feel like it doesn't need them. So
sure, whatever.
That's a nitpick. So I say go see the movie or check it out when it comes to streaming. I wouldn't say skip it. I'd say if you're curious, check it out. You know, you're going to enjoy it. Okay. So let's get into spoilers.
Okay.
So at the end of the movie, you know, they decide to let this happen and they embrace it and they merge into one person, because that's what happens with this thing. You merge into a singular being, right? And so when the movie ends and like her parents are coming over for a planned visit or something, and the fucking door opens and it's this androgynous mixture of Dave Franco and Alison Brie's faces, you know, with like jaw length hair. And this person answers the door and they just go, "Hey." And it cuts to black, and I was like, ah, like I was just kind of like, what? Yeah, it was just kind of like, hey, and that beat felt like it was played for comedy. But after all this, it's like, what? So, there's a lot of discussion. I went down this whole Reddit thread because I was like, how are people feeling about this? And a lot of people are like, oh, it's the fucking best horror movie I've seen in years. It's so funny, and I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm getting attempts at humor, but I'm getting misplaced attempts. So this person had a good take on the ending that everyone else seems to be missing. And it really highlights my feelings about the topic of malignant codependency, which is after all what the film's about. Here's the comment. I don't think they chose to merge, because people are talking about how they chose to embrace it and, you know, and be together and stuff. I don't think they chose to merge. They were forced into it. But most importantly, I think they were emotionally manipulated into accepting it by the entity's control over them. The entity demonstrated emotional manipulation, body manipulation, and even possible possession. There's all kinds of moments in the movie where like they're being pulled towards each other and they're terrified and they're trying to make it stop. And their bodies are being awkwardly contorted towards each other. And it's like, yeah, that's the horror element, but like the emotional element of it is, we don't want this. The whole film seems to be like predicated on whether or not like this couple should even be together. And, you know, and the fact that they seem to realize it at a certain point in the movie. So when the film ends, to me, it's like they're awkward. They're sort of like resigned to the fact that they're going to stay together instead of being like, we can make this work. Even though it ends that way, the final moments of the film, like they're naked and they're making out and their body is morphing together. But once their faces like merge together and you get like a wide shot of this thing they're becoming, their eyes are like googly and looking around and they're sort of like moaning and like with like fear and like, and you know, because it's weird what's happening to them. Some people are like, oh, because it's kind of jarring. It's like, I see that of course it's jarring, but you wouldn't put that in the film as a filmmaker as a performance choice if you didn't want to communicate some regret, some like, oh, what the fuck have we done? Yeah, like what have we done? And now it's too late. And that's how I saw it. And so in that sense, the film is a success to me, because if your whole point is there is malignant codependency and erasing your individuality to completely service the needs or your own emotional like abandonment issues into this other person, that's really scary and bad, because it's horrible for your mental health. It's never good in the long term. And it's a bad thing to do. Choosing to be with somebody for healthy reasons and recognizing the ways in which they make you better and the ways in which you don't need each other but choose each other, that is healthy union, you know, and there's a toxic element of that's passed down through, you know, generations before to our generation and even before that, where it's like the idea of picking a bad partner and then realizing that you are not the sum of your parts. You are negating each other's strengths. The idea that you should choose that person because you've been together for so long. That's something that's covered in this movie. They've been together like 10 or so years. Like, I don't even remember my life before you. And it's like, that's the sunk cost fallacy of like, well, do we want each other or do we just know each other?
Yeah.
You know, and that's a big difference. So to get back to the comment, Tim and Millie demonstrated being emotionally linked. The two most telling scenes in the movie of how deep the manipulation can go is when Millie went into a euphoric state when she held Tim's hand as they walked back from Jamie's house, and that Tim and Millie discovered they can sense each other's feelings when Tim telepathically manipulated her from leaving the room. It seems to me that having experienced a mutual near-death experience with Tim wanting to kill himself and Millie nearly bleeding to death, created an amplified sense of codependency, probably feeding back into each other that would finally grant the entity the leverage it needed to lull them into a false sense of acceptance so that they would embrace the idea of merging, as if she's going like, no, don't kill yourself. We'll just be together. It's like, well, that's bad. Like, oh, let me be with you because you're bleeding to death. Oh, it was because one of the things he says to her when they merge, when they start to merge, is she's bleeding to death from this wound. And he's like, it was the only way to stop the bleeding. And it's like, that's a terrible reason. Like, I know you wanted to save her life, but like, these are all to me allegories of the excuses we make to stay in bad relationships. You know what I mean? And so that's how I'm seeing it. And so I almost feel like the filmmakers made, like, awkward comedy aside, the film otherwise succeeds in a lot of ways at covering its topic with maturity and some nuance and showing like, yes, like taken to its extreme, like this is a bad thing. And we're going to put those ideas into elements of the film. It's a little on the nose, but I think it works. And I think most people just think the movie's funny. And it's like, you're fucking missing the whole point of this movie to me.
Yeah.
The comment says, when Tim and Millie reach the point of no return with their arms absorbed, legs useless, and torsos half merged, they begin to show signs of panic. Wide eyes, dilated pupils, their eyes frantically moving, and their groans trembling. When you combine their signs of terror with the droning, eerie ambiance that drowned out the song Two Become One by the Spice Girls, which is what they're listening to at the end of the movie, it creates a scene of unease and even terror within the characters. The choice of ambiance and the portrayal of rising panic makes it seem like Tim and Millie regained their senses, but were no longer able to stop the merging. That's kind of how I feel about it. Yeah.
So questions. So this is obviously not the relationship expert podcast, but so I don't know enough about malignant codependency, but plot mechanics. Question. Is it that both of these people, like we're talking allegory here, is it that they are both willing to sacrifice themselves and their own independence for their partner, thus creating a weird amalgamation? Or is it that there is, as there probably I would assume most times there is a what I'd call, a giver and a receiver on the end of codependency. There's somebody who's being codependent and somebody who's receiving that codependence. Is the film, what is the film depicting? The film is depicting two people seemingly allegorically in terms of the allegory, they're seemingly giving themselves up for each other equally, and thus become something different that neither of them recognize. And then the reason I ask is because if that's the question, then how does it factor in that they both are resisting this or feel any sort of panic about it? Shouldn't the metaphor be that they're both into it? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it came on like they sort of set up early in the film that like Tim is the one who's like unemployed. Like he's trying to release music, like and doing gig work and stuff. And Millie's a teacher. Millie has a career. And the sense from her friends and even his is like that he's the needy one. He's the one who needs her more than she needs him.
Yeah.
And so the way I perceive it in the movie is that because there's this, apparently I didn't realize until I was reading these things that when he finds his parents dead, or when he finds his dad dead and his mom's sitting there like in a manic grin, it's kind of it is creepy, but it's like, oh, weird. Okay. Because she didn't know how to respond to her partner being dead. Apparently that happened pretty recently. And so, since that time, they have not been having sex. Like, he's been obviously like dealing with it, and she's been trying to sort of help him through it. But there's this effect that it's had on their relationship just because of the effect that it's had on him, right? And them trying to work through it. So to me, it's like so they do this dramatic thing where they change locations away from their friends and, other sources of individuality to this remote location for her job. And at the beginning of the film, like, she proposes to him at this going away party in front of their friends. And he's like, are you serious? Like, it's not like it doesn't go well. And so it's already established, like, he's not sure about this. And she either wanted to be sure or had completely read the situation differently, or this was a desperate move just to, or whatever. But he has this big fear that he's not good enough, and that perhaps that she knows it. So he's kind of needy, but there's also stuff in her that's more nuanced that I didn't pick up on until I read this comment. So this is actually addresses what you were saying a little bit. They were both codependent with each other. That's the whole point. His came off as more introvert, let someone else take control, but secretly resent it, while she was the extrovert / control the situations and then secretly resent the person isn't growing. The comment says the difference between Tim and Millie is Tim recognizes what makes him kind of a shitty partner, but Millie can't do the same. Tim physically depends on Millie due to the whole driving thing. He doesn't have a driver's license. He can't drive himself anywhere. So he is dependent on her for security and for transportation. But Millie shows a lot of traits that shows why she's still around. First, her job is no coincidence. She works with children. She wants to help them. She's a fixer. She says when they're in the driveway that he takes all the risk, so she has to be the adult, essentially. Her toxic trait is giving too much and then being mad that she gave so much. She seeks someone out to fix and is mad that you can't fix a person. Second, the sex thing. He just went through a traumatic incident with his parents. They haven't had sex since the incident. She needs him to need her so bad that she can't give him the space to recover. He's in bed having crazy dreams about his dead parents still, but she needs that affection. There's a lot of her like wanting, and some of that's just like, hey, like, let's have a sex life. And, like, do you want to come to bed? Oh, are you sure? Or, okay, like, are you coming? Like, so there's a little bit of attachment for she needs him. She needs that affection. And, she is unknowing, and is poking at the wrong person for it at the time. And that need, the comment says, drives such a crazy wedge in their relationship that is honestly so unreasonable. And then another man gives her a little bit of attention and she jumps. They're perfect for each other. He's a loser and she likes a loser to fuel her ego. She just can't recognize that, probably because of her ego. With that dynamic, I think that's really subtle in her performance. I think it's more on the nose, both in Dave Franco's performance and in the writing. With her, it's more understated, but that all makes sense to me. Like, the type of person that she is, like, why would she want someone like that around? It's like, well, because like she comes off looking like the reasonable one for most of the movie. But it's also like, all right, but there is there's more subtext there. So I more see it as these people go through ebbs. Like there's a discomfort with the state and the future of the relationship, but there's a clear like rapport and like comfort with each other in like most day-to-day situations. It's just when it comes to like the actual like commitment long-term on his end, or the recognition of the need for space on her end, it comes off more just these things are happening at a bad time in their relationship. Like anything, like something is happening at a vulnerable time in their relationship. And it's, it's when pushed, when faced with the prospect of being together, literally, there's a very human, like, I don't want to be stuck to another person or become two people in one body, obviously. But the metaphor is, I'm not sure I want to be with you, because there's other characters. There's another character in the film that ultimately reveals to be a 2-in-1 person. and it was done willingly and with full consent of his partner. And, you know, he's preaching like the intimacy and the union and the closeness you feel is like nothing before. And it's played for horror, but there's something to be said for that, because that's how people who are in a healthy relationship feel when they are together or committed or married or whatever. Like, you feel like, I'm so close to this person and we click and everything's better with this person. And then there's the people like this couple where I feel like they just tell themselves and their friends that because they can't admit they're in a bad relationship. And that's the difference. Like, they both camps say that thing, but one of them actually means it and the other is lying to themselves. When it would be more honest to say, yeah, we're figuring stuff out, or like, you wouldn't say that to anybody, but the point that if you were to answer a test, like, well, how do you feel about your relationship? You'd be like, well, I like Millie. I just don't know if I want to be with her forever. Why is that? What is it about her that makes you, you know what I mean? Like, this is something a couples counselor would say. So that's more I pick up on, is just like, they've, I wouldn't say they've grown apart, but they seem to have grown somewhat resentful or impatient with each other. It's uneven in that way, because again, like, there's closeness and there's history. But what is not shown is an actual desire to be together when push comes to shove. And I think that's the thing. Like, they're comfortable, but it's an uneasy comfort. It's like, I don't want to take the next step, and I don't have the balls to end this relationship for mature reasons.
So it almost, to me, becomes not necessarily an allegory of codependency as much as it is an allegory of cultural expectations of next steps for your relationship, and that being forced upon you when you're unsure that that's what you want or should have.
And codependency puts you in that space where you let yourself get to that point where you don't even know, like, you can't even trust yourself to know what you want, right? You know, because that's how little of your individuality you either have given up or had in the first place. Yeah. You know,
I guess I look at it going, okay, so if the other character who was a 2-in-1 and seems quite happy about it, and it was done, you know, consensually, and, you know, there's intimacy there and all of that, whatever. It, like, if that's the thing, like, to me, that doesn't necessarily sound horrific. That sounds like, you know, an evolution of a thing that is, you know, maybe what that character wanted.
Right.
That doesn't feel horrific.
That's
it would feel horrific if it was, I didn't want this and here I am.
Right.
But that's not how it's played. So it's horrific only because the point of view characters see it as horrific,
right? Because
they actually don't want the thing.
Right.
And so then it being kind of thrust upon them as, well, you're going to get it regardless.
Sure.
Feels like,
or this is the end game. This is where you should want to go next.
Yeah. So bear that out, like, remove the horror elements of it and like draw back the curtain on what the theatricality of it and like what's actually happening in the world. And it's two people who are wrong for each other, being pushed to married by culture, by parents, by friends, by whatever. And they're marching down the aisle, still unsure that they even should be together. And that's a scary place to be. And that's where you end up with people who are nervous on their wedding day and, you know, all of that. It's the, you know, I'm not sure that this is right. And then you do the thing and, well, now you're stuck, right? And now it's a forced 2-in-1 when you weren't sure you wanted it in the first place. So I guess that's sort of the thought. Like, to me, the more horrific thing than two people seemingly consensually becoming one is for one person, in this case, let's say it's, you know, Dave Franco's character, it's Tim. Tim is like receiving her, like, she's pouring into him for whatever reason. And so she's like losing herself to him, like if that had been the thought. And then the body horror thing is that like it's Voldemort and Quirrell. It's, you know, he exists with her on the back of her on the back of his head.
Yeah.
Like she's lost herself to him, and he still exists, and he's cool and jamming. And then here's this like emaciated thing on the back of his head that's, you know, the girl that, you know, is giving everything she is to him.
Yeah.
Like that feels horrific to me, because that's non-consensual. So if you want to talk about true like codependency,
right,
then I think that or like toxic giving of self, that's the extreme version of that. So to me, this feels more like an extreme version of, you know, culturally we're supposed to do this next thing and get married, but we actually shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And so we're moving forward with this thing, and the two becoming one, it's creating a monster in a different way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting though.
My read of the film is these people shouldn't be together.
Sure.
But there's also a legitimate read of the film where it's like, no, they should. And they needed to take the plunge. But to me, the fact that it's a horror film,
yeah.
The fact, all the things I mentioned before about them, you know, having second thoughts when it was too late, I just feel like that's more the message than anything else about that. And like the plot elements, like the plot mechanics, sort of force it away from the idea to some degree. Like the whole thing, the reason they even like get that way is there's this fucking cave with this mysterious water in it. And you find out later that the cave is like essentially like it's like magic water that this like church in the woods was built on top of. And like you drink the water, and so now you've got the stuff in you, and you and then you do this ritual and you come together, and you know it's bad if you don't choose it. Like there's this like monster couple that lives down the cave, and there's all these like faces in the walls under the cave and stuff like that. There's this like one couple, and they are like this, you know, half formed the thing. And I didn't realize this at the time just because there was, you know, that section was dark, but the guy in that relationship, he had his head and his neck had a knife in it. And the only person you heard speak was her. And she was saying, please help me and stuff. And the idea being that guy tried to kill himself in the middle of the merge to make it stop. And the idea, one of the things that that character, the 2-in-1 character, says to her is like, it's a lot easier if you don't fight it and you won't like the alternative. Some people think that if you're wrong for each other, it doesn't work. And some people are like, no, it'll work either way. But that couple tried to stop it and couldn't. And then the guy died. And so the thing couldn't finish. So now they're just this horrible monster.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how that fits into a real world allegory.
And that's the thing. It's like, that's like the plot mechanic of, okay, it's like this weird cult thing. And it's like, well, why do the cult members want them to, like, why do they have an interest in other people choosing to do this? Why not just...
That's what I was going to say, is this feels overly explanatory. Like, I think what I would think about it as like, if, again, I haven't seen the movie, but if the script came across, you know, my desk and it was, you know, read the script the way I just read the synopsis, my immediate thought would be like, but why are we spending so much time overly explaining where this comes from and the magic water and the magic people and the
I think
thing?
you don't... Yeah,
cut it all out. Like
somebody
doesn't
mentioned
matter.
that. Like, you don't have to do the cave at all. You don't have to do the water. It could just be a thing that's happening to them.
Yes,
and that works fine for allegory because
again, with allegory, I look at it a lot of times as like we're viewing like a theatrical version of events that if we just removed the theatricality of it, we would see what it is real in like real world.
Right.
Which and in real world, they're not a 2-in-1 creature.
Right. They're having discussions. They're having discussions about their relationship. They're not literally like merging together. It's
correct.
You take the analogy filter off of it, and it's just, oh, this is just a couple having lots of talks.
Here's what it looks like in the real world.
Right.
So what does that look like in the real world if someone tries
Drinks
to kill
water.
themselves during
an
like,
argument?
okay, so it's a couple having like a really serious conversation about like, where do we see ourselves going? And the guy's just like, no, and
I'm gonna kill myself. Yeah.
And she's like, well, we're gonna keep talking about it.
Right.
And like, I guess that's what it is. And he's just sitting there like decaying.
The problem. That's the
Yeah.
problem with plot. It's like, if you're going to introduce a story element like that, now you have to explain it. Okay, it's magic water. Where does it come from? Why is it magic? Who used the water? Okay.
What's
do they
the
want?
motive of the people?
Yeah,
like
what's
you
the
just
motive?
said.
And
Like,
it's just like,
why are they
just get rid of the water? Like
it's
the
just
water's
happening.
down there because because that's where they're in this cave. And it's like, you could have picked another place for them to get stuck and spend the evening and whatever, like, or not done that at all. Like, because that whole scene with them stuck in that cave overnight, it's just so that one of them ends up drinking the water.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you do it with, allegory, you don't have to have that scene at all or a bunch of other scenes. You can have more scenes that are based in character or more horror scenes, and you can actually build this a little more organically and play the allegory a little bit heavier with emotional content instead of, all right, now we need a plot scene.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think it's also like something to be said for the idea of like, yeah, it's just happening to them.
Yeah.
And then they slowly discover that like all of their married friends, this has happened to all of them.
Ah.
You know what I mean? And like every single person they know, their parents, every married couple they've ever met, this has happened to them. And so there is no, I mean, that ruins the idea of them being merged into physically one person, because then why are your parents, like, why does he still have two parents? They've never merged. Right. Like that's the thing. If it's just happening, then that is a problem. So you can't do the merging thing unless you fell in the secret hole or whatever.
Right.
Then that's why he still had two parents, because they never fell in the secret hole. But
Right. But like, or like, oh, it, once you like accept it, like it's not permanent, but then it's like, well, then what's the big deal?
Then what's the big deal? Right.
It's like
exactly.
3 days of living this way. I could do that. That's fine.
Right. Sure. Why not?
Who cares?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just better. It's just better to ignore plot and just, because no one's going to be like, wait a minute, why are they merging together? It's like, you went to a horror movie, stupid.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't happen. This isn't real.
I almost imagine it like in Get Out, where Lakeith Stanfield's character is like, so completely like zombified. Right. Yeah. And I almost imagine it like that. Like if it, again, like, I guess this, if it were me writing it, it wouldn't be a physical merging of people. Mm-hmm. It would be that the two people just lose all sense of self. Yeah. And so you end up with like two people, we've seen them earlier in the film, and, it's like dude in like, rock and roll, like he's grunge, he's whatever, he's, whatever. And she's all like, the opposite. She's Barbie, Yeah. And then the merge or whatever happens, and suddenly he's dressed all preppy, and she's a little more grungy than normal, and they've just like lost all sense of self. There's vacant in the eyes, like all the bubbly personality she had is gone, and all of the like personality, rock and roll personality he had is gone, and like whatever. Like, this is an example,
but like
dead
inside. Yeah,
they're both just dead, zombified people, and all markers of what they were when we saw them originally are gone. Mm-hmm. Like that's more what I would do, which isn't body horror at that point. It's just horror.
Well, you could still do all the body horror and then still end it the way you're talking about, where they're not physically merging into a person, where like if a neighbor were to walk in, they'd be like, oh fuck, oh my God. They're not seeing it because it's not really happening. It's a shared psychological experience the couple is having, but they're not actually merging into one person. They're just losing themselves or giving themselves. And but in this case, it's a horror film because these are two people who shouldn't give themselves to each other.
Yeah.
Whereas if this is a couple that belongs together, this is a romance. There's no there's no body horror, there's no night terrors, there's no weird visions, there's no creepy music or strange dreams or any of that, because it's a nice experience. But for people who don't belong together, this would be terrifying. And so let's externalize, let's show what that looks like through the genre of horror. But you don't need to worry about the plot of, okay, what happens when they actually join in together? Like, so now they're just an androgynous. How do they explain that? Do people?
Yeah. What are the parent? What's the reaction of her parents?
Right. And it's like it's not literally we answer the door and we're literally one person now. It's, now we're just too much alike because we don't have an identity outside of our coupling at this point.
Or you could even do body horror I mentioned the term zombified. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, one thing I'll mention is like at the beginning of the film, she comes to get him because they're having this party and he's in the room by himself. And she's like, oh, by the way, everyone loves that we match because they're like wearing like the same thing basically.
Sure.
And then she's like, and so she goes to the door after, because she came in to beckon him into the party, and she goes to the door and she turns around, he has a mood. She's like, honey. And that was my first thing of like, oh, you need him to come out there. And he doesn't want to. And then when he does come out, he fucking changed his jacket to a different color jacket. So that was my whole thing of, he is not sure about this, but he's going through with this move anyways because he needs this person.
Sure.
And she is either willfully ignorant of his feelings about this relationship.
Sure.
And she's either pushing past that or doesn't care how he feels, or, you know what I mean? It's just, it's not played that's plain. And so at the end, when the parents show up to come to the door and ring the doorbell, they're wearing matching outfits, like not literally, but they're wearing a matching color palette. And it's like a subtle, like, oh, these people are, and so if you were to posit your idea, which is all couples go through this and it's either terrifying or wonderful, that implies, so if they answer the door and they're matching too, it at least ties that together of like, oh, we've been through that. Like that happens, And so then it's an even bigger statement. But for us, it was wonderful. Like, what about for you guys? And it's like, oh, it's been awful. It's like,
right.
Oh, and you don't have to end it like, well, you shouldn't be, you don't have to like finish the scene.
Sure.
But you can at least introduce like, everyone goes through this and it's not terrible for everybody. Was it, did you have like taking like ayahuasca? It's like, oh, was that bad for you? It was great for me. And you're over here like, your parents are dead and you're like, yeah, that sucked. It was horrible.
Yeah. Right.
It's like in Thunderbolts, like they're like, what'd you guys see? And Bucky's like, oh, nothing. I have a great past, so I'm fine. it's that thing. It's like, oh yeah, it's going to be bad for the wrong kind of person.
Right.
But they're not literally one person at the end of the film.
Correct.
That would have been way better to me. Because then that explains all the horror elements. Like, why is this a horror movie? Without having to explain, well, you see there's secret water and we don't know where it comes from, but when you drink it, you merge with the person you're with.
There's no like, real world allegory for that.
Why does the water do that? Why doesn't it just give you a virus that kills you? Why doesn't it turn you into a horned beast? Why does the water do this?
Yeah.
And it's just too many questions about plot, to me.
I just say, if you wanted to go the zombified route, I could see that working too, but it would require that one of the two characters is giving too much to the other one, right? Like, if he's a deadbeat, he's some like bum and she just keeps pouring into him for whatever reason and, whatever. And then her parents come at the end of the movie, like to see them, and he answers the door and they're like, oh, hey, where is she? And then it like pans over and she's like sitting there, but she's decayed like a zombie. Like I could see throughout the film, the more she gives to him, the more like her body decays like a zombie. And then like when they finally show up to see their daughter, her jaw's like half hanging off and like she has no nose and she's just like rotting. Like then you still get the body horror element of it, with the like real world like obvious, maybe that's more on the nose, but like the obvious, oh, she gave too much to him and she's now this rotten, hollowed out person.
I almost at this point would have preferred this film to be like a 4-part anthology, like a 4-part short. Like everyone was given the same, it's like a student film. It's like everyone's given the same topic and beat sheet. It's like,
how do you interpret it?
You do it with merging. You do it with, whatever. And it's like, let's just see how everyone interprets this idea. Because it seems like it's a good idea. And it just seems like if you're going to do it a bunch of different ways, you just have to throw out stupid, dumb plot mechanics that just kind of get people focused on, well, how is this happening? Why is it happening? Instead of, and people just come out of the movie. It's like, well, it was, there were some jump scares and it was funny. It's like, what about the idea?
Well, but that's the thing. Like when I heard the idea, I thought, oh, that's a really good idea. Yeah. But it really can only end in one of two ways. Either they merge together or they don't. And I guess that's not super interesting, or it didn't like draw me into the theater because I'm like, it's either gonna, they're either going to merge or they're not. Like, right. There's no surprise left there. It has to be one of those two things. And, coming off of like Babadook and Smile, like it's going to be, they're going to merge. The horror is going to happen.
Yes.
So I know how it ends. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Another comment here. Throughout the entire movie, there was no half-merged abomination that didn't have a corpse in the mix. Even with the dogs, the border collie had blood on its coat, implying it was probably dead when they were found. The dogs in the beginning. Is that in the synopsis?
No.
There's the whole beginning is like a search party looking for these missing hikers who end up being the monster in the cave.
Okay.
So there's a search party looking for them. There's like search dogs. Two of those dogs end up going down the hole. They drink from the water. And then like when they come out or whatever, they're just kind of like staring at each other. And then the guy goes to the cage. It's a lot like The Thing. The guy goes to the cage because they're like, there's a bunch of noise and it's like this fucking like merged, like horrible, like two dogs, two faces and like half a body thing. And that's the visual element to set up. Here's what the water does,
Well, see, now I'm confused by that because dogs don't have relational intimacy with one another.
See, that's too much plot. It's like...
It's too much plot.
Yeah.
You're overly explaining.
It sets up later like, okay, like that's who they're looking for, this hiker couple who came up here and, used to live right over there. And then also we, the audience, know that these dogs drank the water and they merged. Or tried to merge, or started to merge. But yeah, you're right. Like those dogs weren't in love. There's no codependent. So it does. It's too heavy on plot there.
It almost makes more sense if like it was a search party or something, and like we're following a married couple, and it's a very obvious toxic relationship. It's like a very like it's a subservient wife and a abusive husband, and he's like, we're gonna get out here and we're gonna whatever, and like you hate them, you hate him immediately, and then they try to merge and it doesn't work, and then it's like, so toxic couples don't merge, or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But since it happening to dogs is weird.
Well, it happening to dogs is weird. The fact that we don't know anything about this couple at all. We don't know their relationship. So it's not like we can tell like, oh, they didn't merge. Like he tried to kill himself during it. Is that because he didn't want to be with her? The allegory? Or is it because he was freaked out by merging with another human being and decided he'd rather die? Plot. So
or was it to save her?
Right. We don't know which it is. We like it just introduces the idea to Dave Franco that, oh, if we kill ourselves, we can stop this. Yeah. Like it'll stop. Like it won't seek the other person. I just have to do it before we start merging. And then she's like, no, don't do that. I'm already bleeding to death. And then he's like, oh, let me stop the bleeding, and starts merging with her. And then it's like, oh, well, I guess it's good that we're together for this. Like, let's just go for it. Like, I really do want to be with you. Like there's this whole, like I said, melodrama. There's this whole melodrama at the end where like they just kind of profess their love for each other. But it's like, it felt disingenuous to me, because if I were watching this outside of the lens of this is a horror movie, and I was just watching a couple that I know is having these problems say these things to each other, I'd be like, guys, you don't mean it. You don't mean it. Yeah. You just want to feel better. You just want to justify this relationship. And so it doesn't ring true as, oh, they chose each other in the end. It's like they chose each other, but they didn't want to. This this goes on. Evidence in the movie points to the fact that the entity can make them feel and want certain things. It's fully possible that it exploited their desire to be together and cranked it to 11 to initiate struggle-free merging. After all, with the allegory being centered around codependency, the ending merge could very well mean that their codependency had taken an extreme enough turn to erase them as individuals. The movie being an allegory for codependency makes it seem like the entity is actually codependency manifested in supernatural form. No shit. Throughout the movie, however, Tim and Millie would try to part ways, and that's when their manipulation was at its strongest. Like, he got physically sick if he was too far away from her. And so he had to get back to where she was, near her. Codependent individuals always return to one another, and that's exactly what happened all throughout the movie. If you consider that the entity is codependency, then it would seem the final merging between Tim and Millie ultimately means that their codependent nature won. And again, that's how I read the film, is they didn't choose each other. Their codependent nature is keeping them together. And
they didn't choose each other. They chose the relationship.
They chose the relationship, but they didn't choose each other. Right. Exactly. The ending is certainly left ambiguous. However, even if you assume that they were all in, it's still more tragic than bittersweet. Tim and Millie going all in means that they surrendered to their codependency, seamlessly blending the two to the point where the we erodes the I, making it impossible to tell where one ends and the other begins, and effectively ceasing their existence. I was going through comments and it was like, loved it. And I was like, does somebody not like this? And I finally found one.
Right.
I was kind of disappointed in it, to be honest. I thought the opening scene was excellent, and the quick shot of the dogs before the title card was super effective. The premise is great. The idea of losing yourself for your partner, taking on a horror element, is phenomenal. I think I didn't respond to the mystery aspect of it personally. It felt kind of Blumhousey, but not in a charming way, if that makes sense. It totally makes sense. I felt like it wasn't that type of movie. If it was a bunch of teenagers trying to figure it out together, I'd have enjoyed more that they're trying to go back to stop the curse. Though I feel like I'm talking myself into getting it by the nature of Dave Franco's character, I almost would have preferred that the cause of the body horror to be shrouded in mystery and the fragmentation of Millie and Tim's relationship based around this mysterious affliction. That's what we said. Forget the plot. Just what's happening, I don't know. It's allegory.
Yeah. Yep.
Why is there a Babadook? There isn't. It's grief.
Yeah.
I really liked the sex scene in the school bathroom, but it felt like the humor took over a lot more serious aspects of it. In that scene, his dick gets stuck inside of her. And like there's a shot of like his stretched out penis trying to pull himself out. And people were like, oh, it was so funny. And it's like, no, it's terrifying. It's not funny. You see penis and you think funny automatically. I mean, I usually do, but I mean, in this context, not funny at all. Horrible. It's like every man's worst nightmare. At one point, like he goes to a psychiatrist and he's getting like medication. And he's like, here's a muscle relaxer. He's like, oh, is this Valium? And he's like, it's called diazepam now. And it's like, oh, okay. It's just a throwaway line. So they are merging together. They're beginning to merge together, and he's like, "Take the diazepam." So he's emptying out the pill bottle, and they're trying to. He goes, "Is this Valium?" He's like, "It's called diazepam now." And it's like, this is a horror scene. This isn't. That's one of those jokes that's just like, it's a callback, but it's not. Why are we doing this now? And then it's like, we're going. It's like, it's like if you snort it, it'll take effect faster. So now they're crushing up pills and they're snorting them real quick. Like, and it's just like, it seems like this manic scene. And you're just like, this isn't the right tone for how this began, which is like being pulled down a hallway against your will, and your partner like crinkling their body and being pulled towards you. It's not the time for jokes about pills. The guy says, not to say that humor shouldn't coexist with horror, but I just felt it was doing too much of the humor and not enough of the horror. I enjoyed it for what it was, but my disappointment, I'm sure, is largely my own fault for building up too much in my mind. Posters were great, blah, blah, blah. Solid middle-of-the-road horror flick, in my opinion, but imperfect. Felt like two different movies that didn't really mesh well together, which is a funny comment considering we're talking about mismatched meshes.
Right. Yep.
I don't think he did it on purpose, though.
No, it sounds like it's unintentional.
Yeah. So all of that to say, I certainly agree with those assessments, and they seem to sort of highlight what we're saying too, like get rid of the plot element of the supernatural element, just let it happen. And what I did like about his response was the idea of, what if it was like a house full of couples? Like what if this was a couples retreat or some kind of like marriage prep retreat or something like that? And so you could have it happening to all of them, but they're experiencing it differently.
Sure.
You know, for some people it's great, for some it's awful. And they're like, are y'all having dreams? Like it would be a little bit, because then you get a more of a spectrum of couples, a healthy couple, a toxic couple, you know, a I'm not sure couple, or like a couple that's going through like, oh, like our pet just died, or a couple who just lost a child, or just something, to where you'd have a bigger sampling of things that define relationships and can put a wedge in them. And you have this thing happen to all of them. And so that if you're doing that, you have time for all of that, because you've gotten rid of all it's the secret church water. It's the, you know, none of that. More runtime, more characters for more diversity, and for honestly like a bigger like what the fuck's going to happen thing, instead of one couple where after a while you're like probably going to merge.
Sure.
You have multiples. I liked that idea too. I would have watched a movie of like 4 couples on a couples retreat, and this is the thing that happens. Yeah. And maybe the caretaker knows it happens, and maybe he doesn't. Ooh, he's a little, what's up with him?
The counselor is in on it, and whatever. Yeah.
And then Paramount makes a spinoff about that guy's life.
Oh gosh. A
prequel miniseries.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's called The Counselor, and it's all about how he found the church water, and
on Shudder. Yeah.
On Shudder. So we just spent like an hour talking about this. So like, it's certainly interesting.
Sure.
But there's a lot of ways where it could have been better. And I think that's
okay.
That's our closing statement. So
there you go. All right.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
You make wine, I'll make gin.